when these things happen, I don't really feel that I wrote it, you know? I feel like, oh yeah, that was just a thing and it passed through me and there it is. And now it's my job to kind of just put it out there.
That is interesting. I mean, do you think of this as like a realm of spirituality? Is that what it is?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't like attach it to any specific religion, but yeah, I think it's a spiritual thing for me for sure. Music is very, very spiritual for me.
Yeah. I think I don't know what I think anymore, but this collective unconscious thing, ideas about the collective unconscious and things that we have in common as members of this species and what they mean. Like for example, the idea that when we experience certain things or when our mind is working through certain problems, that maybe we'll dream about water or dream about bears or some shit. These are experiences that I was having on repeat for a while, like dreaming about either trying to get over a body of water or defending something or someone from a bear.
Wow.
These were just like on repeat throughout different times in my life. And I remember with COVID too, like my dreams ramped up like a lot of people's did. The fact that when we experience thing, our brains handle it in a certain way, and like a phenomenon during COVID was that a bunch of people were having more vivid dreams. I'm trying to understand what that is. I don't know I don't know if I have the language for it. I don't know if that's what I think of as a conversation about spirituality or if it's like psychology or fucking what, but there's something really interesting to me about it. Yeah. Whatever it is.
The collective conscious. I mean, and when you say that to me is a spiritual discussion. I guess it could be more just scientific too, but are you approaching that idea from like a spiritual place or what?
I like pretty much detached entirely from the idea of all spirituality or all things like non-material years ago. And I think I let go of that commitment. I let go of that sort of like, like materialism. I kind of took on an idea about materialism and how that was kind of the foundation of everything. I've been letting go of that and kind of like letting my mind open up to things. I don't know what that means. Sure. I have no conclusions, but spiritual isn't my go-to thought. I think of it from a psychological level, but I don't know anything about psychology. I just have little glimpses. And then sometimes the more I think on it, it's like sometimes I just think spiritual language is like we came up with it because it does the best job of like describing these things. Yeah,
sure. I do like just the words collective consciousness because that describes everything more easily somehow than attaching the word spirituality because that's such a loaded word.
Yeah,
you know?
It can be.
It can be, yeah. Yeah, because we're all coming from a different perspective. Like, I have no idea what that means to you, you know?
Yeah.
What does that mean to you? What does spirituality mean to you?
I have like a negative bias for it because I come from a religious background that I like don't identify with anymore. And so I think I have I've had a bit of a defense mechanism between me and anything religious, and I associate spirituality with religion. I've heard a lot of people say that that's a failure and a mistake, and like you shouldn't associate, or you don't have to associate spirituality with religion. And I'm like, yeah, maybe you don't, but I don't know how to not personally.
Yeah. I don't think there's any wrong way about anything, period. Oh man. Yeah, well, we have time to talk about all the heady shit, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I'm not in a hurry.
Sweet. I got lots of stories. So I also was raised like in a religious background, but when I say raised, I was raised in Benson, North Carolina, but my father was from Brooklyn, New York, and my mother was from Chapel Hill. So they both were raised Catholic, and they both came from kind of a more liberal perspective. They found a cheap house in Benson. They did not realize where they were moving.
I see. I was wondering when you told me about it, how you ended up there.
Yeah. So, and they did a great job. They added a lot of zest to that town. And I do have a lot of love for Benson. It was a very wide open space for my wide open brain. I was weird. compared to a lot of the kids there, you know. I didn't do what's it called? FFA?
FFA. I
Farmers, Future Farmers of
Oh,
America.
yeah.
With the green jackets.
Yeah.
I wasn't in that. I didn't play sports. And I was actually the religious girl in school. And the reason I brought up my parents is because they were not religious. They were burned by Catholicism when they were children, and they had kind of said like, "Nah, we're good."
Yeah.
My dad was like, he was a suit in my life. He was like a guy with a nice job and wore a suit, but he was actually behind the scenes just a pothead that listened to Pink Floyd when he wasn't wearing a suit. So he rejected the church and spirituality and religion, not spirituality, but religion. My mother came with me to church just to support me, but I chose to go to a Pentecostal holiness church because they sang really well and they harmonized so well and like had this vibrato and tambourines. And I was like, even as a 6-year-old, I was like, Mom, I want to go to that church, you know? And she was like, oh, are you serious? They are psychos. Like, because if you don't understand or if you're not part of that culture and you show up and they are jumping off of chairs and that whole thing they say about swinging from chandeliers, that's kind of a real thing.
Yeah.
Anointing people's head with oil and they're passing out and, you know, whatever. A lot of entertaining stuff is happening. And we lived in a small town. It's pretty entertaining as a 6-year-old. So, yeah, started there, started singing in church. They had me on stage by age 8, which kind of fucked me up, if I'm being honest. Like, that's where the fuck up began.
Interesting.
Yeah, because you want to talk about some weird shit. Being an 8-year-old. And my poor mother, she was probably like, what have we done? Like, we have traumatized our daughter. But I would get up there and sing, and everyone's like, wow, she's so talented. And afterward, I would walk off, and they would, like, touch me. You know, oh, bless you. Being an 8-year-old and walking down an aisle while everyone's touching you and saying, bless you, that is weird, you know? And so you're getting all these compliments and praise, and people are telling you, like, you're anointed. You are blessed. God has blessed you. And you don't know what that means. You know, it's like creating a narcissist at age 8. So my mother did a great job, and she would always, like, almost daily, if I ever said anything out of line, she would be like, no, be humble. You know, don't let those people and what they're saying to you get to your head. Thank God she was like that, because it's just a weird environment. So anyway, started there. Learned a lot of cool vibrato, lots of old spiritual tunes. Eventually became a worship leader for like more of a not so pointed like Pentecostal. It was more of a non-denominational space. So a little bit more open. And then similar thing, you know, they're like, you're anointed, you're blessed, blah, blah, blah. But at one point, they started telling me how to control the week. I was working at a summer camp. And so they wanted me to, like, you know, every week we had a new crop of kids. And it was up to me, the worship leader, to kind of guide them, if you will. And this is where it got weird. They started telling me what the order of the week was. And it was like Monday is introduction day. Tuesday is fun and uplifting. Wednesday is cry day. We're going to get them all to, like, you know, open up and cry. Thursday is get them saved day. And Friday is celebratory, go home.
Holy shit.
And they were, you know, they were aware that I was really talented at controlling a crowd, which is what we talked about with my cover gigs.
Yeah.
And yeah, I am good at that. Before, you know, while I was in the religious world, I didn't realize. I believed them, like, oh yeah, this is God, not me. One day I woke up and was like, oh, no, Rebekah, you are like making these kids cry, you know, like you're manipulating the music as they're telling you to. And one day I realized, like, I'm not okay with this. I don't want to do this. And I quit. And that's when I said, okay, no, I'm going to go sing my own music, my secular music.
Right.
And, yeah, I'm just going to do what I do, but I'm not going to do it for some tithe money or shit. You know, like I'll do it for tips. You can give me tips. But yeah. Woo, weird.
Damn. That's very interesting to hear that from like the inside, because like I was somebody who went to camps similar to that probably, and probably observed that effort to manipulate people's emotions.
You probably hated it.
Yeah, it never really worked for me very much.
Yeah, because you're a free thinker.
Kind of.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story that.
Okay, please.
I used to have a different. I tried once. I did like 3 episodes of this other podcast that was all about religion and stuff, and I told the story on there. And wrong audience probably. But I'll tell it again.
Tell me.
One time when I was at one of those camps, they did the thing. It's like feels so embarrassing to remember some of this shit.
Why?
But I don't know. It's just like I distance myself from it so much.
It's the past.
It's the past.
Yeah.
I was like 14, 13.
Yeah.
So they did the altar call or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And I think I felt duped already, because they were like anybody make a new deal with Jesus or whatever to orient your life. And they were like, raise your hand. And I was like, I did. I like told Jesus I'd be better.
Yeah.
And they were like, all right, everybody who raised your hand, come up to the altar. And I was like, damn it.
Dang it.
They tricked me.
They did.
So I went up to the altar. And then like as I was standing up there on the stage, and they were like kind of making a display of all of us who had recommitted ourselves to Jesus in some way or another, I felt something on my hip. And I like put my hand on it, and there was something in my shirt. It was like a bug. And I was like, what the fuck? And I like felt, and I made sure it was a bug.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I'll just flick it off. I go to flick it off, and it like wouldn't come off my skin very easily. And I was like, fucking A, what is this thing doing? And I got freaked out. Like all this is happening real quick. So with my shirt, I grabbed the bug and just yanked it off and like flicked it onto the ground, and it scurried away. And I looked at my skin, and it was like, it had really made a mark on me.
Oh
it
my
was
God.
really trying to hold on to me. And it hurt like a bitch. And I started crying on the stage.
Oh my God.
And then I realized everyone in the room thinks I'm having like a religious experience right now. And it's horseshit. It's just that this bug lit me
bite.
up.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Listen, you know, yeah, there's so many stories, but my whole deal goes so far. Like, I've been on this quest since I was a child to find the magic, you know, like, and that's just who I am. I'm like, there's magic out there, and I've got to find it. You know what I mean?
I love that you said that.
And yeah, I think that we are, while we are very different in our ways of expression, I think we're kind of birds of the same feather. Like, we're just looking for the magic, and we want to find it, and then we want to give it to others, you know? So I've been looking for it, and I've experienced a lot of things. Some of it has been magical, and some of it has been horseshit. You know, like one time I accidentally joined a cult in Africa because I thought...
Okay, you got to tell me about that. You can't just leave that floating.
Yeah, so I was a worship leader at that summer camp, and
Yeah.
this team from South Africa came through, and people get mad at me when I tell this story because some of them were part of this, and they'll hear this, but this is my experience. Sorry, guys. A team came through the summer camp. They were doing a performance. They did a great performance. There were about 100 people on this team, and it was like this theatrical hip-hop dance performance. So lots of like break dancing while doing theatrics. And they had a rock band that played behind it. It was really cool. And they were scouting out talent for their next year's crop of performers. So they saw me and they said, hey, we want you to be part of our team. What will happen is you'll come to our base, which is in South Africa. You'll train with us for 3 months, and then we come back to the U.S. and we tour for like 8 months. And you'll be in a van with us. And as a 19-year-old, that was like the dream, you know? So I didn't care if it was Christian or secular. I just wanted to tour. So My mom, she was a banker, and she was like, I think this is a terrible idea. I think that this might be a con. But I was 19, and this is how I rebelled against my parents. I was like, Mom, you can't control me anymore. Like, I'm 19 now. I can make my own decisions. And she was like, okay, well, I don't like this, but you're not wrong. Like, you are 19. And I think she was more afraid that she would push me all the way away. So I packed my bags, and I went to Africa. While I was there, they tried to tell me that I had a lot of demonic attachments. They tried to take me into a private room for deliverance. And I, also being a free thinker, was like, I don't think I need deliverance. Me and God are pretty tight. Like, I talk to him or her, whatever. I talk to them all the time. And I think I'm good, you know? So I don't want to go into that room. And then, like, the next day, everyone met up in this public room, and everyone had been to deliverance except for me. And this guy was talking about, if you have this done, then you have a demon attached. If you've ever done this, you have a demon attached. He was, like, preaching at us, you know? And I raised my hand, and I was like, I disagree with this thing.
Damn.
In church, you know? And I'm like, I totally disagree with the thing that you just said, and here's why. I kid you not. After I said that to him, we're in Africa, so there's no air conditioning, so the windows are wide open to let the breeze come through. Right after I said that, an African thunderstorm was like, kaboom! And the wind starts blowing, and the curtains are like,
oh my God.
And everyone's like, Rebekah is possessed. And I even was like, you know, they're brainwashing you. So I was like, oh man, am I possessed? You know, like, did I just make the wind blow and the thunder roll?
Oh my God.
But no, I stuck to my guns, and I never went to deliverance. And maybe that's what's wrong with me. Maybe I just have a lot of demons attached to me right now. So anyway, I came home, and then the whole place went bankrupt. They stole all of our money, never gave it back, and we never toured.
Damn. That's wild.
I know. So then I came back, and I started to seek the magic. I'm not going to call it God, you know? I'm going to call it the magic, the thing that we're all trying to find. I started to seek the magic on the road. And I started, my father passed away shortly after I got back. And then after that, I was like, fuck this. I'm pursuing my dreams now. And so I started hitting the road. I recorded some albums, played a bunch of gigs, traveled all over. I don't know how I'm still alive, you know, like I put myself in some dangerous situations like Africa. And I've just been seeking the magic ever since, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, every time you say that, it does hit me in some kind of way. And I've had this weird private, silent relationship with that word in my mind. 'Cause it's like, I don't know, a friend of mine, it's like, I don't know. This weird thing happened when I like lost faith and stuff, where I'm like really in this silent battle between how I believe things and like what I let myself believe and stuff. And the word magic comes up a lot in just my own mind. And sometimes when I hear artists talk about art in this like magical way, I can think of a time when I saw a friend of mine like just post something about the magical nature of songwriting, and I remember feeling cynical about it and being dismissive about it, and feeling like, don't do that, like don't say that. But at the same time, there's this other part of me that like sees a real necessity in like praying to God, that not literally, but pray, you know, like hoping with everything you have that there is this thing that you can't describe any other way than magic, like this transformative, this like what is magic? It's something totally counter to what you think is possible. It's something surprising. I don't even know what magic is, but it reminds me of one of my favorite lyrics of all time. It's in a Tom Waits song, Day After Tomorrow. It's like, from the perspective, you know this song?
I don't.
From the perspective of this soldier overseas who's like coming back to like Illinois soon, and he's writing a letter. So the whole thing is just a description of how confused he is about the whole thing. And in like the first verse of the song, he says, first verse of the song, he says, "I still believe that there's gold at the end of the world." And that's just it for me. Like that line destroys me.
Yeah, that gives me chills.
It's something about the hopefulness of it all,
Right.
the need for like that belief in that gold that like it ruins me.
Yeah.
Makes me feel like I have to keep something
Yeah.
about magic alive.
Right. And it is so confusing because I don't, man, this is a hard thing to say, but you know, I've watched people die. I've watched it end. And when you have watched that, you think, well, where the fuck is this magic? You know, like, where did their magic go? Did they ever get it? You know? And it's just this beautifully poetic, heartbreaking thing where it's like, that's the collective conscious, you know? The energy just keeps moving. It just keeps flowing. And I guess if we're relating ourselves to nature and not putting ourselves on some pedestal like, oh, we're special, we're humans, we're songwriters, you know, let's just relate it to the birds. Like, that bird has to sing. That's its job. It can't control itself. It just does it. And that's that bird's magic, you know, like it's doing what is innate and it doesn't know why. It never knows why. It's probably so frustrating. Like, why am I doing that? Ah! You know, the sun's coming up. Ah! I can't stop. It just can't control itself. And I like to think that, I guess that helps me in some terrible way. I'm like, well, Rebekah, don't fight the urges. You know, if you have urges, you're just some kind of bird and you don't know what kind of bird it is yet, but just do your thing, you know, because there's a lot of other birds like that out there.
I like that.
You know, like it's so true though. We're all a type and there's only so many types. We like to think we're special, but we're not, you know? So just do what you do and stop questioning it. You were given this innate thing for a reason and you're part of the collective and you're needed. So if you're, you know, if you sell insurance or you're a very analytical person and you work in a bank or whatever, like you're needed. Follow your bliss, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we all have a different bliss, but it all makes it go round, you know?